Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. 30 years ago today, the iconic science fiction TV series The X-Files premiered on Fox on September 10th, 1993. I spoke to both Mulder and Scully on separate occasions. First with Gillian Anderson, who joined me in 2016 to discuss her human trafficking film Sold, as well as the latest reboot of The X-Files.
Thanks so much for taking the time to come on WTOP in Washington, D.C. How are you?
No problem. I am good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. WTOP listeners know Ms. Anderson from, The X-Files, and she's getting ready to do Streetcar in New York coming up. But, maybe we can get into that later towards the end if we have time. But, the reason we're here to talk is about the new movie Sold, a powerful, powerful topic about child trafficking. Julian, how did you guys film this, in 2014 or something? How did you get involved with it initially?
Well, yes, we shot it a couple years ago. A couple years before that, I got a call from my good friend Jeffrey Brown, who is the director, who asked whether I would get involved with the movement behind the film. At the time, there wasn't really a character in it for me. By the time they ended up filming, they had created a character based on a real-life humanitarian photographer called Lisa Christine. But that's a small aspect of a much bigger campaign that's going on right now. The campaign behind the film is actually bigger than all of it. And the campaign essentially to end child trafficking, to spread awareness globally about the industry of it that is out there. It's a $150 billion industry, the human slavery industry. And this film is basically a starting point, a talking point that can be screened in theaters around the States. If you're interested, you can go onto the website soldthemovie.com, and they will screen it in your hometown. You can see the film. You can start the conversation. You can have it screened in schools. There's a school version of it, and basically start the conversation locally so that we can get to the bottom of this atrocity that is going on in front of all of our noses around the world. It's in Washington, D.C. Child sex trafficking is in every city, in every country, on every continent. And it needs to be at the forefront of our conversations.
Yeah, talk about, what you just mentioned. Talk about how it's not, some problem from some faraway place like it is in the movie. I mean, as horrific as that is, too. But talk about how, how big a problem it is here in America, too. Yeah,
well, it's so easy for us to dismiss topics when they feel like they're seas away from us, which is enough of a motivation to get people galvanized, hopefully, anyway. But the fact of the matter is that there are children who are being trafficked for sex, boys and girls, from, as young as 3, 4, 5 years old up to, 16, 17, 18 years old, in every city in America. We've got stories and survivors from girls in Washington, D.C., in Atlantic City, in New York City, in Iowa, and it is something that is going on. It is the third fastest growing black market industry in the world.
Man.
They estimate that 1.8 million children a year are sold for sex trafficking. And there have been organizations that have been around for a long time, and they are building up steam. This movie is there to help spread awareness about this conversation and to start, developing a movement behind it so that laws can be changed, so that governments can start taking it seriously, so that industry is not bolstered by this atrocity.
Yeah, seriously, imagine if imagine if that was your daughter. I mean, I think that's the easiest way in for most people. And once you think of it that way, or even if you don't have kids, I mean, it's just the age of these kids. It's heartbreaking, really.
Yeah, it is. It's heartbreaking.
So I'm pretty sure I know the movie. I think it's playing in New York and some other places early April, but I believe it comes to DC. I think April 22nd. I'll double check on that, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay, fantastic. Yep, that's brilliant. And there's also, if you go to soldthemovie.com, you can actually ask for the movie to be screened in your hometown. If you find that the movie is not going to be shown anywhere near you, you can actually ask for it to be screened. And if you get 65 people together or more, they will screen it for you. They will hold the space so you can have a conversation or a meeting about it, and about how each person can be active in growing the conversation in their community. And it's a very if you go to that website, there are lots of ways that people can be active in spreading the word and getting governments to put this at the forefront of their policies.
Absolutely. And what I always love is when I see, sort of the follow through to stuff like this. I mean, I think we talked to Freda Pinto, who they did the Girl Rising campaign a couple months ago, and it was very similar. But, talk about why it's important that, you can sort of, how this quote unquote fictional movie sort of is a way to, a window in for average people to kind of get the idea initially and then to do the follow through.
Well, I mean, art is a very, very powerful and effective tool, and by getting to observe the experiences of one girl, she becomes the voice of the millions who don't have a voice, and the millions who don't have a choice in their lives, and that's one of the most beautiful things about the work that I get to do, to be able to be a part of something that can be both beautiful and aesthetically beautiful, but also can elicit change. When people are moved by film or moved by art, they are often moved into action, and it's very difficult to see this film without asking the question at the end, what can I do?
Absolutely. And it's got to be one of the more rewarding parts of what you do. I mean, obviously you're, award-winning famous actors in your own right, but it's, you probably can do some of those more famous roles, and then that allows you to then do something like this. So, I mean, how do you juggle it all? How do you do sort of one for the art, one for the cause, one for the entertainment,
No, I'm not quite that altruistic, no, but But yeah, I mean, it is a juggle. But when there's something like this, I mean, even when I'm initially asked to be the voice of a campaign in some way, my first instinct is, no, it's not. I'm not that person. I can't do that. It's too much. It's too intense. We were at the UN today in a panel talking about trafficking and the impact of arts on trafficking, and my first response wants to be no. It's too scary.
Right.
But the fact is, this is so important, and we have to remember all those innocent voices, innocent faces behind this atrocity, that just they have no choice in their lives, and they are dying on a daily basis of the abuse and the beating and the systematic rape, and it's a really ugly issue, but it is there and it's happening and it's the truth, and we need to start talking about it.
Gotcha. And so when you're at the UN today, is that so? Are you sort of based at least temporarily out of New York? Because tell us, you have Streetcar coming up, right?
I do. I'm not starting that yet. I'm here just for this right now, and
Gotcha.
Then I go away for a couple of weeks, and then I come back and start rehearsals for a Streetcar.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, how'd that role come about?
Streetcar is, Blanche Dubois has been a character I've wanted to play for pretty much 30 years, and I live in London, and I have been working for a long time to try and get together a production of it. I helped put together this production in London at the Young Vic with my first choice of director, Benedict Andrews, and Ben Foster, amazing actor from the States, came over and played Stanley with us, and other Vanessa Kirby and Corey Johnson are in the play, and we were very well received, won awards, blah blah blah, and now we're bringing it to New York for a short run at St. Anne's Warehouse.
Awesome. Well, speaking of the kindness of strangers, do you have people a new generation coming up to you as Scully? Is there sort of a new crop of fans that maybe missed it the first time?
There sure is. It's uncanny, actually. I don't know if I really would have anticipated it. Just who are discover. I was at Legoland with my kids a couple weekends ago, and a father came up to me with his 14-year-old son and just said, I want to introduce my son to you. He's a big fan of the show. And I found myself saying, so when did you discover it?
Yeah, right.
He said he discovered it like a year ago, and he's watched all the episodes and stuff. But it's almost like this rite of passage that's taking place, and the range of viewers and interest and of just from literally really young kids all of a sudden not just discovering it through the new season, but going back and watching the old ones, which to me look like they're so old and dated that they're getting really addicted. It's crazy.
That's awesome. And have you and has the Mulder to your Scully? Have you and David, have you looked back on it after this 6 episodes run and been like, I'm glad we revived that?
I think we were glad about it from the beginning. From the moment that we decided that it was something that we were going to do, it was fun for us, and we knew that we were making the right decision, and then it just became about how to best give the fans what it is they've been telling us they wanted this whole time. And I think that Chris and the writers, pretty much did that in the nature of the episodes that they put together. So, it was fun.
Yeah, and there's, at least judging from the new pilot on, you guys have, it's this new internet post 9/11 NSA. It's like ripe for these conspiracies.
Yeah, it's a good time for the X-Files plot scripts.
The truth has never been more out there. That's awesome.
Yes.
Do you pinch yourself and think, man, you guys are one of the great buddy teams in TV/movie history now. It's got to be wild to even think you're part of that.
It is wild to think of. For a long time, I think we just, we thought fondly back on our time working on the show together, and the fact that it's been yanked back into the current conversation, and that we still get to be those buddies. It's one thing to go, weren't we lucky? But then to get to jump back into those shoes again, and play on what made their dynamic so appealing was quite fun.
Yeah, it's not just nostalgic; it's alive and happening. Are you guys?
Exactly.
Is there going to be any more word on a
I don't know yet. They're still talking about it.
I'm sure you're like, stop asking me. Everyone's asking me that.
No. Yeah, no. I'm used to that. It's usually, when is the next X-Files film going to come?
Right.
Now it's just, when is the next series of episodes going to come? And I still, like always, I'm the last to find out.
Right. Well, are you hopeful there will be another one?
I don't know yet. On many levels, I think so. But I've got 3 kids. I live in London. I've got a lot of other commitments, and I want to, for the sake of the fandom out there. And on the other hand, my old butt just wants to take it easy.
Okay, well, that's definitely understandable. Well, the good thing is, with whether it's X-Files or Streetcar or whatever else all the other great things you've done, you can lend it to a great cause like this. The movie is sold. I believe it comes down here in D.C. on April 22nd. Thanks so much for lending your voice and your fame and influence and everything to such a great cause.
Thank you so much for talking about it. I really appreciate the airtime.
Yeah, it's a heartbreaking topic. So thank you so much, Gillian Anderson on WTOP. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley, celebrating 30 years of The X-Files. I spoke with star David Duchovny in 2016 when he played a detective hunting Charles Manson in the NBC series Aquarius. Apologies for his crackling phone line, but I figure a crackling Duchovny is better than no Duchovny. I'm here with the one and only David Duchovny, star of the crime drama Aquarius, which returns for season 2 tonight on NBC with a special 2-hour premiere. David, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, this new season involves a sort of a creepy new case. You start receiving some photos of missing girls. Explain sort of what this premise is.
Well, that's the character that I play, Sam Hodiak. He's going through his own crises in his life, and one of them is at work. He's being sent these pictures of women bound up and tortured, and I'm supposed to figure out what's going on and who these women are and who's doing it to them. Now, all this is happening with the backdrop of the Manson stuff really picking up. Now, there was no way for a cop at that time to to know that Manson was going to become Manson. You know, he was just, at that time, he was really just a two-bit con man, pimp, cult leader. So, you know, it doesn't really make sense for my character to be investigating Manson because you wouldn't be.
Right.
These murders came out of the blue in many ways. So what our show is really about is two parallel worlds. One where, you know, the 60s are happening, and I'm playing this very straight-laced kind of Joe Friday cop dealing with the revolution of the 60s. And on the other hand, you've got Manson heading towards his horrible destiny, and the 60s really coming to an end with those murders.
Yeah, it's a fascinating idea for a show. I mean, I remember, you know, when Mad Men was going on, so many bloggers wanted the show to go there, and there were so many hints to it. But you guys are actually, you know, you're going there. So that's what makes it that's what makes it compelling. So I believe season 1 opened in 1967, Los Angeles, right? And you're slowly building up. Yeah, you're slowly building up to the murder.
Well, this year the murders happen.
Oh,
you know, we've sped up. So in fact, at the beginning of this year, you're going to see clips, little images of that fateful night, and you know, it's kind of be a jumping backwards and forwards. But it's safe to say the season begins and ends on that night.
Right.
Night.
So where are you have Gethin Anthony from Game of Thrones is Charles Manson.
Yeah.
Where are we with the Manson family currently in the show? They're hooking up with Dennis Wilson? He's still trying to make it as a musician, or
exactly. You know, some people know, probably most people don't know that Manson was trying to make it as a musician at that time, and he did have some pretty good contacts in Terry Melcher, who's a strong producer, and Dennis Wilson, of course, is with the Beach Boys. So this year is really about Manson getting close to that dream that he had, and then what happens when that slips away. We all know what happened.
Yeah, definitely. What about, well, we spoke a lot about, you know, the Manson family, sort of the antagonists of the show, but in case our listeners, maybe they missed season 1 and they want to try to get caught up for season 2, tell us about, you know, the hero here, Detective Sam Hodiak. What about him makes him a juicy role for you to play?
Well, the reason my character gets drawn into Manson's orbit at all is because the love of my life, a woman that got away from me and married another man and had a child with him, her teenage daughter has kind of run away, and she comes to me to find her, and I track her down to this cult commune in the desert, which is being run by this dude named Charlie Manson, which doesn't ring any bells at the time. What I love about the character is that he's really like you know, you think 60s and you think, you know, free love and the music and the hippie revolution and all that, but actually my guy is he's a man of the 20s and 30s living through the 60s. So you kind of see this crazy time in American history through the eyes of a guy that fought in World War II and is a cop, and you know, he's a difficult cop. He's a cop that bends the system. He's a cop that does what he needs to do to dispense justice, what he thinks he dispenses justice, whether or not he can do that within the system. So he's a flawed hero, which I enjoy.
Well, flawed heroes are always more fun for us to watch anyway. No one wants a perfect character, right? All right.
No.
Yeah, I know we're up against the clock, so before we go, I gotta ask. We spoke with Gillian Anderson a few weeks ago, and at that point they still didn't know if there was going to be another X-Files. Any more word on that front?
Well, there's nothing specific. I would tell you if there was, but there, you know, everybody involved is interested in doing some more. So, you know, Fox, Chris, Gillian, and me. So I would bet on it happening. I just don't know when, and I just don't know where, and I just don't know how.
Yeah, well, whether or not it comes back more generally, you know, what's it like knowing you're going to go down with her as one of the great buddy teams in history? Mulder and Scully, we're going to be right up there with all the buddy teams ever. It's
nice. You know, it's nice to have created be part of a duo like that. I guess, you know, it's always been an interesting relationship to me, what they had, kind of completing one another.
Yeah, now you're doing a different kind of investigation in Aquarius. So if our listeners haven't checked it out yet, check it out. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.